One special session currently underway, and Governor Abbott promises there will be more. At least one will focus on school choice. Education savings accounts, or school vouchers, are an Abbott priority. Speaker Dade Phelan last week formed a select House committee to look at these options. He named 15 members to that committee, including Republican Matt Shaheen, whose district covers parts of Collin County and North Dallas. Representative, it's good to see you this morning.
Well, thanks for having me.
So does the formation of this select committee indicate that there might be some support for educational savings accounts or school vouchers, whatever you want to call them, in the House? Certainly there was no appetite for that during the regular session.
Yeah, it's definitely signaling that we're going to continue to take a look at it. We spent a lot of time on the topic during the regular session. And so, yes, appetite is still there. I think you have members of the legislature that are hearing from constituents that polling tells us overwhelmingly support this concept. So it's really going to be incumbent upon us to figure out what kind of form we're going to be working with.
What would you be in favor of when it comes to ESAs or vouchers?
So I actually had a piece of legislation myself that actually created a $100 million fund that needy kids, special needs children could actually apply for those in the form of a scholarship. What was unique about my legislation, that $100 million was totally donations. So we didn't use, not only didn't we not use any public education dollars, we didn't use any state dollars. So it'd be corporations, individuals that would donate to this fund. There's some tax incentives to be able to do that. And so it'd be scholarships that children would apply to.
You just talked about kids who are in need of special education programs. Are you in favor of expanding and savings accounts to all kids in Texas?
Yeah, I mean, in general, I am. I don't know how realistic that is. I think what we'll probably end up doing is doing something that's targeted, again, like our special needs. Look, if you look at like the district that I represent, right, I've got great schools like Plano, Frisco, Prosper, Salina. These are great schools, high graduation rates. Most of your children are going to college. It's really the areas in Texas where we have either our minority communities or our low-income communities that are struggling. That's just the reality. So what are we going to do as a legislative body? What are we going to do as a state to help address some of the education shortfalls in those areas? And so I think what you'll see is at the end of the day, maybe not something quite as broad, but really targeted like special needs, like low-income students.
One of the other things that this committee is tasked with is supporting educators. Teacher
Sure.
pay raises did not pass during the regular session.
That's
Why
right.
did that happen?
The House had $4.5 billion allocated for that. That piece of legislation didn't pass. What we ended up doing is we supported enrollment growth to the tune of over $3 billion, $2.4 billion for what we call the golden pennies, but that's funding for our schools that aren't part of that recapture or Robin Hood process. Look, we are well aware of the importance of our teachers. My wife is a teacher, so we live it every day. Our teachers, when I get in front of a group of teachers, I tell them they are the economic engine of our state because they are creating our workforce. So we're going to revisit that. So not only are we looking at, just the parental choice and education, those types of things, but we're looking at testing. We're going to look at what we can do to enhance our schools. And I think some of that's going to be teacher pay raises as well.
We are watching kind of an interesting time in state government. You're a Republican. The Speaker of the House is a Republican, the Lieutenant Governor and the Governor, and yet they are fighting quite publicly right now. Do you
Yes.
worry that sort of this public disagreement is hurtful to your party?
No, the House and the Senate, quite frankly, always argues towards the end of this end of the session. So this is normal. Look, this is a healthy debate. Whether it's school choice or it's how to provide property tax relief. We're blessed in the state of Texas that we have this huge surplus, so we're trying to figure out how to provide the best property tax relief for our constituents. Look, the Republican Party does a great job at the end of the day of coming back together for a reelection and doing what's great for the state of Texas.
Representative Shaheen, thanks so much for your time this morning.
You bet. Thanks for having me.